And today we're going to be looking at Android tablets and smartphones. So I seem to get many seniors that are unsure exactly what a tablet is. Well, it's really a miniature handheld computer, and a smartphone's exactly the same. A smartphone is often just a smaller version of a tablet for being able to do things. And instead of using a mouse to be able to control this computing device, we use gestures. That is, different movements of your hand on the surface of it does very similar things to what a mouse would normally do. It has an on-screen keyboard, and you're not restricted to that, but they all come with an on-screen keyboard. And you can get up a reasonable speed on typing with those after a while. And for those people who want to, you can buy a physical keyboard, a Bluetooth keyboard, and connect to it, or you can get little USB keyboards that will connect up to the tablet. So if you like a physical keyboard, you can do it that way. When it comes to the tablets or smartphones, we have OSs, or operating systems, right? You're all familiar with a computer where Windows is the operating system. Well, on the tablets, on the Apple breed, the iPads and iPhones and so forth, the operating system there you'll see referred to as iOS. And for the Google systems, there's Android. Now, Android was developed back in 2003, I think it was, and by a firm, surprisingly, called Android. And Google thought it was so good that they turned around and they bought the company out, and they've made made the Android system fully available to developers to use as they see fit. Now, all tablets, they all allow internet connection via Wi-Fi. Right? So via Wi-Fi you can connect onto the internet that way. If you pay a bit more money for many of them, they will also have the 3G and 4G wireless capability. Wireless capability is great, but of course you then have to have the means of paying for that wireless internet connection. And the totally surprising thing about the smartphone, with all the things that you can do on it, you can even make phone calls with it. I was always stunned by that one. Okay, so the Google Android system is what we're going to be dealing with today. And as I already mentioned, it's an operating system, and that it was developed by the Google company, or the Google company bought it and then developed it further. And it is totally free, and so this is why manufacturers have picked up on it. The disadvantage of it, as against the Apple system, is manufacturers customize this operating system to suit their hardware. So as a consequence, you'll have difference between manufacturers. You'll pick up one Android system and pick up a different, even a different model of the same brand, and you'll find there's subtle differences with the way it works. If you're looking for the closest to the Google way of how they wanted Android to work, then those tablets that have a Nexus label on it are the least customized. They're the ones that are closest to the Google way of doing things. And as Heinz put down, the latest Android version is 4.4.2, and it's called KitKat. All of the Android stuff has names, like an earlier one there Pierce put up was called Jelly Bean. So there are all these sweet numbers, sweet names, but yeah, 4.4.2 KitKat is the very latest one. You'll find that I refer to the Android as being a bit more Wild West than Apple's iPad. The Apple system, which is great, I'm not knocking the Apple system, but it's a lot more controlling. When you buy an Apple iPad or iPhone or something like that, you're very much locked into the Apple way of doing things. The Android system is also cheaper than the Apple breed of things and the iPad, and they review very favorably with the iPad. In fact, I've seen some reviews that gave the edge to the Android one as being slightly better than the iPad, but they really do go toe to toe. So if you think you've got an Android and you think you've got a bit of a has-been sort of a machine, it's really not. So let's have a look at the Apple versus Android. In fact, as I just mentioned, they're so very similar. In fact, that Samsung and Apple sue each other, and have been for some time. I think Google and Apple have dropped their suites from suing each other, but you're talking about millions and billions of dollars that they're trying to get out of each other. The gestures that you use are the same, pretty much the same on both. The gestures that you use of tapping and double tapping and stuff like that. All the Apple devices, and I call them iDevices because that describes the iPad, iPhone, iPod, they all have a physical home button, a single physical home button, which differentiates them from the Android system. The iDevices are more integrated in that you can actually flow stuff from one to the other, and it's much more coordinated type system. The Android systems do allow you to put micro SD cards in them, most of them do, and this will give you more memory. This is something that the Apple devices do not allow extra micro SD cards in them. So those iDevices have fixed memory, and it's difficult. So if you're going to buy an iDevice, you're best off buying one that's got the most amount of memory to start with. And iDevices generally cost you more dollars than what the matching Android systems are. Okay, so let's have a look at a typical Android controls. Now this is a picture of a very cheap Android tablet called an Micro tablet. I saw them on sale the other day in Harvey Norman for $79. We use them in fact for training at wood rising and find them extremely good for training purposes. We can get through it. So this slide shows you the typical features that you've got on there. You have a power button, right? And it's just a single little button for turning it on and off. And I do find that people that are new to the Android system or new to tablets tend to hold that button in for too long. You normally only need to hold it in for 3 seconds when the system is first starting up. After that, it's just a brief touch on it that will put the item into standby or will waken it from standby so that you can get it going again. And if you hold the button in for about 5 seconds, then it will shut the whole tablet down. So shutting it all the way down and turning it back on, there's nothing wrong with doing that. It just takes time to do it. Whereas from standby and waken, it's very, very fast at jumping straight to attention, ready for you to start using it. The other physical buttons you'll find are the volume buttons, right? So you'll have volume up and volume down buttons to be able to change the sound. You'll have a slot for a micro SD card. On some of them there'll be a slot for a SIM card as well if you have 3G, 4G. Your other connection is for USB or micro USB type connection, and an earphone socket. Most of these tablets have got very tinny little speakers in them. You buy the dearer ones and they've got better speakers, better sound system, but you still can't beat a set of earphones or headphones to hear really nice sound out of it. Okay, so some of the gestures that we have tapping. That is the basic gesture that you do with stuff. So you just simply tap, and you don't. It's just the briefest of tap. You just tap it. I can't say it any other way. Just a single tap on the button. If you hold the tap down, then that will have a different action than what just a briefest of taps. And you do have to tap with your finger or with a special stylus to be able to get things to operate. No point trying to tap with a pencil or a pen. They just won't work. There has to be a little bit of moisture apparently. It recognizes the tip of the finger to be able to do it. Double tap is obviously tap tap, and that will have a different action again. Swiping is where you flick from one side to the other, or up and down, and it's just an intuitive just flick of the thing, like you're trying to flick a wheel around, and that will flick up and down. Right? Or you can wipe it up and down, and this is where you hold your finger on the tablet and move your finger up or down to actually scroll things around. On many things, particularly with pictures and websites in many cases, you can pinch, and that is using 2 fingers on the screen, that you move the fingers outwards, and that will zoom in, or you pinch them, move the two fingers in towards each other, and that will zoom out on whatever you're doing. Again, a very intuitive way of doing things. And your last one is to tap and to hold, and this is why I said the difference between tapping, and if you keep your finger on the item, then it thinks, oh, you must want to drag it somewhere. So you really have to watch that. And the tendency that I find with people new to tablets and with seniors is they don't tap quick enough, or they seem to think that tapping harder will make it so much better. You don't need to tap hard on it. It's just a nice light touch, and you'll find it works fine. So we'll have a look at a typical unlock screen. Now this is a typical unlock screen. When you first start the tablet, you'll come up with this unlocking screen. And these are the El Cheapo Micro tablets that I mentioned. These are screen dumps from there. And depending on which way you're holding the tablet as to how it will appear. So in this case, I grab that, I hold on that center icon there, and I just simply move my finger out to this outer area. Right, I can go from there and I can move it out to an outer area, and that will unlock the screen. Now, as you can see, if I want to, for example, unlock and go direct to the camera, then I would start from that center and move my finger out to the camera, and that will actually go straight to the camera application. Now you'll hear them referred to as apps, and the term apps is really the shortening of the word for those people who are too lazy to say application, because that's what they do, so out to the application. Now if you have an Android tablet and you leave it in this sort of an unlock mode, then I really would ask you to start thinking about whether this is such a smart move. Because if you lose your tablet or your smartphone, then people can get access to everything that's on it simply by going to the unlock screen and wiping your finger out. There's various other means that you can use for locking it. One is called a pattern, where you'll have a series of 9 dots on the screen and you can nominate a pattern to draw to unlock that phone, or you can have a passcode. Right? So it might be like a PIN number to unlock the tablet. So do think about that if you do have one.